Good afternoon. Today we have two guests with us, and I'd like to introduce them very quickly. We have Doug Pietz with us, and Doug is Executive Director of the Huron Community Campus, located in Huron. And then also Dr. Erin Fouberg, and Erin, as many of you already know, is our Associate Provost here at Northern. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And the reason we're here today is just a few hours ago, we signed an MOU that is between these two entities, Northern State University and the Huron Community Campus, which we think is really significant. And I just want to say a word about that before we jump in and really pick their brains and ask them more questions about this. But I often talk about the mission of Northern State University as a public, regional, comprehensive university. And a regional public really has as its mission to serve the region of the state and make sure that we're doing two things really well. And those two things are that we are accessible to the citizens of the region. In other words, we're accessible so that if they want to go on to college or get a post-secondary education, that they can access it through us. And then the other part is that we're affordable, in that we make sure that it is affordable to go to college. It's not outside of their reach to do so. And so with that in mind, I would like to jump to this relationship because I think this relationship illustrates our mission so well. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I think by signing that MOU today, we really showed that we are a regional public and we take that very seriously. So Doug, I'm going to start with you if I can.
You bet.
And I'm going to jump in and ask if you would just give us a little bit of history about the Huron Community Campus. Tell us about its beginnings and tell us a little bit, then bring us to today and tell us a little bit about what you do as Executive Director of that campus.
Sure. First of all, thank you for inviting me and having me with you for this program.
You bet.
Dr. Fouberg, I appreciate so much the opportunity to visit with you. So the history of Huron Community Campus goes back to about 2010. Huron has been a long-time home of a university, college to start with, and then into a university. When that closed down in 2005, there was a real hole in our community as far as higher education is concerned. We still had a Huron College Foundation that had money in the foundation going back several generations, and we struggled a little bit of how do we use those funds and continue to have higher education? Is it scholarshiping? What is it? And we want to keep our students, homegrown education a little bit. And so we came up with this concept of having Huron Community Campus. The city stepped in with some funds that help us cover costs, and the College Foundation stepped in to help us cover some of those costs. So we created Huron Community Campus. We reached out, we knocked on the door of Northern State University, and Northern was gracious enough to accept us in, to help us build the program and continue to move forward with it as far as offering undergraduate classes and as well offering graduate level classes in Huron, which both have been very, very popular. So, the history really starts from 2005 to today with the transformation of what higher education looks like in Huron. Mm-hmm. And the concept, Dr. Fouberg has been great to work with. When she came down to Huron and we presented this last MOU to the different players, to the different mm-hmm. groups within the body, I thought she did an outstanding job of explaining it as it's more than just a partnership. It's a marriage of two institutions keeping our eyes on the prize, which is higher education. Right. And I'm delighted to hear you talk about the mission of a regional institution, because our mission is very similar to that, where we need to be the gateway for students to make that step to higher education.
Right. So let me just continue and ask, who are your students? Can you talk to us a little bit about those you serve?
So when I've been asked what our target market is, we've had students that are 17 years old, dual mm-hmm. credit students, and the oldest student that I've had to this point has been 69. So my target market is from 17 to 69. Anybody that is wanting to consume education. Dr. Fouberg has helped me get through auditing a class. You know, we've had a couple retired teachers that just want to go ahead and take a history class or, you know, take a psych class just to have as busy project to do. So when we really look at our target market, we're looking at anybody, traditional college student, a non-traditional student. We have some education, but we don't have a degree, and so we need to continue down that pathway to re-engage back into learning again. We stepped away for whatever reason. So, you know, we work with students from all sects of society.
Great, great. Erin, I'm going to look at you for a moment. As Associate Provost, part of your responsibilities are overseeing the Huron campus, which we've talked about a little bit already, but tell us a little bit about Northern's relationship with Huron. Tell us about, you know, how it works and just kind of what that relationship looks like.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Sure.
Yeah, the Huron Community Campus is an interesting partner with Northern. Like you said, we're regional comprehensive, and I think when I think of the mission of Northern State University, I think what we do here every single day is we change lives. You know, we are accessible, so people can come in, they can finish the degree they started. They can decide that they want to go to college and earn an associate degree. They can decide they want to level up their career and they're already teaching and they want to get their master's degree so they can get a higher pay to make it more lucrative to be a teacher in the Huron School District or any school district in the region. And so when we look at Huron, what we're talking about is making sure that those kinds of opportunities are available to the people that are place-bound in Huron. You know, there's a lot of people around here in Aberdeen who they can't necessarily go away to get a degree.
Right.
And what the Huron community decided when the college left, when the college closed, was that they needed classes on campus. They needed face-to-face classes in Huron. And so Northern took the leap and said, we can do that. We can provide undergraduate, associate degree, face-to-face. In 2 years, you can take every class that you need here. We can provide a graduate degree, a master's degree for all teachers in the area. And in 2 years, and face-to-face, through taking classes on weekends, you can earn this degree. And so what we're doing in the Huron area is we're, like you said, making college accessible, making graduate programs accessible, and we're doing it in a way that fits the folks in Huron. They want that in-person contact, and that's what we were able to provide there. These aren't online classes.
Right, right, good.
And if I may, that
Yes,
brings up
please.
it always hasn't been easy to get that face-to-face class to happen.
Right.
And so, you know, the online education is amazing and is fine. You know, I firmly believe that face-to-face in the classroom with an instructor in front of you really elevates that to the next level. And like I said, it hasn't always been easy.
Right.
And so my appreciation of how hard everybody works to get that face-to-face class to happen is critical to our success.
I think one of the neatest things we did was 4 years ago, Northern invested in hiring a full-time instructor in Huron.
Right.
So we had one person who was an alum of Northern who taught there for 2 years, and she got so invested in the community in Huron that she ended up becoming a full-time employee of a Karen culture organization in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area when her husband went to law school there. And since then we have Sarah Myros, who lives in Huron, and she's getting involved in activities in Huron. She's connecting with people at the chamber and other events. Doug is forcing her to go to all sorts of Huron activities. So it's just wonderful that she's invested in the Huron community. She's living there, and she's teaching a pretty full load in Huron of our communication studies, English 101, first year seminar. So students who go to school to Northern in Huron, they have that connection with a Northern faculty member.
Right.
And she is a Northern faculty member, so she's connected to her department here on campus. And
That's great.
yeah,
Good.
she attends our Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning events, and
Yes.
it's wonderful to have that connection.
That I'm sure is a difference maker.
It is.
does.
And you know, she has, to say she's just faculty there would be a
Right.
disservice to her, because she's become my right-hand person.
Yeah.
If we're talking marketing or even just the communications of, tell me how's your class going?
Right.
What are the students doing? Do you hear something not going well, what's going better than other things, and she's kind of my link to that world.
Yeah. That's great. Well, today at lunchtime, we signed an MOU. It's a 3-year MOU. It takes us out through about July of 28. And I think I'm right in saying it was 9 or 10 pages. So there's a lot of content in there. But just at a higher level, tell us a little bit about what's in the MOU and how do you two, working together, make this MOU work and make it come alive?
I think the key this time around was to focus on the fact that these are Northern students. These are Northern students taking classes in Huron. These are Northern programs, Northern students, and they should have access to all the same supports that an online Northern student has. So they have clear access to tutoring, to career service support, to all the student affairs activities that they can get access to remotely. And so it's clear from the beginning of the MOU to the end that these are Northern students and we're providing them supports both in the classroom and outside of the classroom. And we want them to earn their degree while they're there, or at least get started on their first year. Today at lunch, we had 2 students join us who did their first year of college in a Northern program, taking only classes located at Huron. And now they're here in Aberdeen and they can see each other across campus just like they used to see each other across the halls of Huron High School. And so it's fun to know that, when they need a phone a friend, it's interesting that they contact Sarah Myros, their professor back in Huron, to read a paper, that kind of thing. So there's a soft handoff between taking classes at the Huron location and then coming to campus. And I think it's making a big difference for a lot of students to be able to start close to home and then launch into Aberdeen too. And I think there's some intentionality in the MOU behind that to realize that those are the students that we're supporting, as well as the high school dual credit students, as well as the students who want to earn their full associate degree down there. The other thing that made it a little bit long is we used to have a separate one for the undergraduate and the graduate programs, and now we put them all under one.
Together.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And just to roll that into the next, Dr. Fouberg is always concerned of the students, which is wonderful, addressing student needs, which is great, and she's an expert in that field. I looked at it as when we started here in Community Campus and how all the mechanisms that we're in, who's paying the bills. It was very cumbersome. We have the Huron College Foundation, we have the City of Huron, which we're grateful for picking up part of the bill, and we have Northern with the Board of Regents of saying, here's how you have to conduct business. And so we try to join all 3 of those entities together. It became very cumbersome at different points. And so this MOU really streamlines that process, which to me was huge. Instead of getting all these invoices and this goes here and this goes here, this goes here, Dr. Fouberg has really honed in on, okay, let's make this more user-friendly. And that's the part of this that I really appreciate. Because I'm not concerned about meeting the needs of the students because we have an expert team taking care of that. I needed to get this put together so that it became more user-friendly.
Yeah, kind of the management end of it almost.
Correct.
Like how
Correct.
does the
That
money
fair?
flow?
Yeah, I think exactly, and I think it was a lot of learning, to understand all the players at work in Huron and what their missions are individually and what their responsibilities are to the students in Huron and to the facilities there.
Because there isn't,
and making sure it made sense for Northern.
There's not a model for us to really follow.
No, it's a unique.
Because we're unique, if
It's
you
pretty
will.
unique.
Yeah, it is. It is a unique, because I have worked with branch campuses before, and this would be a hybrid of a branch campus.
Correct.
It's different. Yeah.
It is. It
So
is.
I think you're right about that.
It's a big investment by the city of Huron.
It is.
When the Huron campus closed, the city invested a lot in the buildings and the properties
Right.
there.
Well, and what we found when Huron University closed and we did those several years of not having higher education, the pipeline of students coming out of higher education was broken.
Yeah.
And so what we took for granted is, Huron University was not a huge institution by any stretch, but yet that pipeline was there. There was students every year coming out of it. And all of a sudden we didn't have that.
Right.
and we wanted it back
Right.
badly.
You missed that.
And so the city stepped up,
Yeah.
the foundation stepped up, and Northern stepped up, and so that pipeline has been recreated. And we all know, we know the statistics. If you can educate your students locally, the odds of them staying local
Much better.
much better.
Right.
And so that's exciting for us
Yeah.
to have that going on.
I'm going to say I applaud Huron for doing that, for being committed to higher ed and really hanging in there, even
Right.
when their university closed, they didn't give up.
Right.
And I think
Yep.
that's really great. So I want to delve a little bit into the programs that you offer, and I think I'm going to start with you, Doug, and just if you could talk a little bit about your programmatic offerings in Huron. Degree programs kind of, and then I know there's some things you do courses too, as well as in the dual credit world. So can you just talk a little bit about what you are offering at Huron?
Sure. So the courses that we offer are the general required courses. The state of South Dakota says you have to have certain 6 main areas covered in general required courses. So we make sure we cover those, and we make sure we cover those in a rotation that makes sense for the student. Because the last thing that we want is a student going, "Oh, hey, I can't take any of these classes. I'm at a dead end here." And so we run that rotation through those undergraduate courses to make sure that we're always offering courses for the students to continue to progress towards their degree. If it's associate degree, if we're going to go on to a bachelor's degree. One of the really neat things is, we work, nursing students is a huge part of our campus, be it CNA and LPN or associate RN. And now with Northern offering nursing, I'm hoping that turns into a BSN degree for the nursing students. But we have a lot of students that are going to go after an LPN certification. But we still need general psychology, we need English comp, we need that freshman seminar class, and we need a math class. And so Northern offers those to non-degree seeking students, still in a very nice rotation, and continue so that they can progress to get that certification. And then even, the anatomy, physiology that we offer for students to go on into that associate RN degree. And so, and I'm the first one to admit, I'm not from the world of academia. Like I said, I looked at this MOU as the business side of things.
Right.
I rely on the experts to tell me, Doug, you need to offer this because here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are we going to do it?
So I think, Erin, I'm going to just jump to you real
Sure.
quickly and just tell us a little bit about how you do kind of decide what
we're
you're going to
doing.
take down to Huron. How do you work through that, and how do you make those decisions?
It's a lot of conversations with folks in Huron, workforce development kinds of conversations. I think for some of the first meetings I had in Huron were with economic development and the mayor and the city, and talking to business leaders on the city council to see what they need. And then we got in, the reason that we ended up with the rotation that we have, partly, is because we got into deep conversations with the recruiters at the Huron Regional Medical Center. And they needed students to complete the LPN. And so we sat down for, I don't know, it was a couple of meetings. Where are the students falling short? And it ended up the math. And so we ended up with teaching math 095 in the fall, which is like a pre-college algebra course. Or I'm sorry, we teach that in the summer. So then the students can take that in the summer, then they can take math in the fall, then they can keep going and keep progressing. And we actually thought about, well, if they're taking math and that's going to be the hardest class in the fall, what other class should we be having them take in the fall? And so that's why we started offering psychology, I think, in the fall at the same time. And so then we started to say, they're probably more interested in psychology than math. So give them one that's more exciting, one that's less exciting. And then we talked about when to offer English and when to. So we really laid out the course rotation, both to support the students, and Southeast Tech offers the LPN program down there, and then also to make sure that if a student takes every single course we offer in Huron over a 2-year period, they complete the associate in general studies.
Great.
So you can take a full course without summers of just fall and spring and finish your associates in general studies. So that at the same time, our course rotation is supporting the LPN program, it's also supporting the general studies associate's degree, and it's also supporting the general education. So the Board of Regents institutions, all 6 of us have the same general education. So if a student completes the general education at from Northern at Huron, they can go on to any
take it
Regentile
anywhere.
institution.
Yeah.
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 We always hope they come to Northern.
Yeah. So you've mentioned the two-year associate
Yeah.
degree. You've mentioned the graduate degree that's available for our teachers in the area,
Yeah.
correct? But is there any other degrees that you offer there, or even partially maybe offer there?
Partially. So then
Okay.
we've also created plans of study, and we have a professional advisor, Medea Droppers, who works with each student, and will develop a plan of study for them so that they can complete an associate degree in criminal justice, business administration, digital marketing, digital entrepreneurship, I should say. And they can complete any of these degrees within 2 years as well, with about half the classes being taken
Okay.
at Huron. Actually, the criminal justice is a little bit more than half. Yeah, and so they can finish that degree with a combination of almost all, or half to more than half of the classes being face-to-face in Huron, and then the rest online. And so Medea knows that rotation of classes for all those programs. Same with actually business. So almost all of our business programs at the bachelor's level in Northern are offered online and taught by amazing faculty and really high quality online courses. So if there are folks in Huron who want to complete a bachelor's degree in any of our business fields, accounting, finance, marketing, management, ag business, they can do that in Huron, taking a number of courses face-to-face, and then we'll work with them to make a plan of study to finish it out online. Yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah.
And even to go to the next step of that, we always have to be cognizant of where's our professors coming from.
Right, right.
So we can't come up with just a course
Right.
and put it out there
That's
and go,
true.
oh, who's going to teach it?
Right.
Right.
And so, we're constantly monitoring who's out there, who can teach this. Is it somebody we're going to have to get down from the home campus here in Aberdeen? Is there somebody in Huron as an adjunct that we can
Right.
teach this course? And so it goes into, a lot of realms of, okay, when we actually have students to walk into a classroom and take a course, a lot of legwork has happened to
Right.
get to that point.
Right, absolutely. Erin, I'm wondering if you can also just talk for a moment about any other services that you offer at Huron, and this would be beyond the coursework
Sure.
itself. You mentioned the full-time instructor,
Yep.
so that's good. Is there other things that we either take down, maybe even periodically,
Yeah.
like we send a person down to do X? What types of things do we do?
So we have an admissions representative who's designated for Huron, and that admissions rep is down there every other week or at least once a
Yeah.
month. It
Yeah.
depends
Okay.
on the time of the year.
Right, at least once a month.
Yeah, at
Okay.
least once a month. And she offices right next door to Doug, so they
Right.
work together. And she's there both to recruit students to start their degree program and then also to move on to the next. So if they do complete an associate degree, we want them to finish their bachelor's if that's what they want to do.
Right.
And so she'll talk them through the whole process of re-recruiting them onto their
their
bachelor's
bachelor's,
degree
yep.
too.
Good.
But we do have people from our Student Success Center go down to Huron and do some onboarding of new students every fall and every spring to show them what opportunities they have for student supports, whether it's tutoring one-on-one, which we do have digital tutoring, Zoom tutoring
Yeah.
that we provide students in Huron. And then we also have tutor.com, which is provided to students in Huron too, free of charge. And that helps a lot in classes where they need to help at night or on the weekend. They can access that just
Right.
24/7 actually. So that's helpful. We have career services that you can access remotely. Also, our
Right.
Student Success Center has a number of success workshops. And then they also have a program for reentry. So if you do have a semester that isn't great academically and for whatever reason is going on in your life and you need to come back, we have a Back with the Pack program, and that extends down to Huron too, so that we're providing those student supports, kind of the
Wonderful.
wraparound supports that we need.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
In the MOU, one thing that caught my eye was the fact that you reserve, I think it's 2 hours in the afternoon, and is it like 2 to 4? I don't know if I
Yeah.
have that quite right. But at any rate, it's geared towards your high school.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's a good
Correct.
And I just was wondering if you could talk about that, because I found it very interesting when I was reviewing the MOU.
Erin Dr. Fouberg is the one that came to us with the Northern Academy concept. And so when I visited with high school students, we weren't getting a lot of students, dual credit students, simply because our courses started at 6 in the evening
Yeah.
and went to 9.
Right.
Well, if there's a basketball game on or other events going at that time, the students weren't wanting to take classes like that. And so we developed a Northern Academy approach to it, where the high school worked with us to get a schedule built. So at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we offer dual credit courses. This semester right now, we have a speech course going on and a freshman seminar course going on geared towards, general psychology, geared towards high school dual credit students.
Gotcha.
And it's the last hour and a half of the high school's day that they leave the high school campus, come to our campus, and take those courses.
Right.
And you know, I think it bears mentioning that everybody needs to understand you're not a Huron Community Campus student, even though you're taking classes at Huron Community Campus. You're a Northern State student.
Yeah.
So those credits, even if you wanted to go somewhere else at that time, they transfer you with you because you're a Northern State student. So students taking dual credit in Huron, it says Northern State on their transcripts. And that's a huge piece, I feel, of the puzzle to entice students to take these courses.
Absolutely.
I think we have to credit Dr. Steinhoff with that too, though. The superintendent in Huron saw the value of that. You know, he wants to make sure that his students are college ready, and taking some dual credit while you're in high school is really valuable. And then the high school counselors have been really patient with us while we've trying to figure out how to do this. Like, we thought about, should we do 4 different classes a year, and finally we came to the conclusion that if we do the same 4 classes in that time period every single year, it's going to be easier for the high school counselors to advise. And so there's a lot of give and take that we do with Huron, because it's like, well, we think maybe it's going to work this way, and then we get a lot of feedback. And that feedback, we can move toward it really quickly. So,
which is great.
It's helpful.
We're not successful with every try.
No.
We try some things, and you know, when we signed the MOU, I made the statement, we need to get really good at doing what we do. And so there's some trial and error that goes into it, and patience by everybody, you know, be it the city commission saying, Doug, what are you doing? Well, we're trying this. We're seeing if this works. And so we just continue to try to move forward.
I think that the scholarships that Dr. Steinhoff and the Lions Club and the other organizations put together, you'll have to remind me who it was.
We partnered with 4 service groups in town. The Kiwanis Club, the Lions Group, Sertoma, and then the Huron School District Foundation. And we scholarship those dual credit students that come and take those. So not only are we offering dual credit at a very affordable rate, we reduce that more yet with a scholarship. So it becomes really affordable for those students to take that course. Once again, face-to-face, professor in the room at the time that is convenient for those students. So we try to account for, you know, anything that was a roadblock of that student receiving education. Okay, how are we going to get past this roadblock? What do we need to do to get past this? And so we continue to try to get past those roadblocks and offer the school that they need.
And I'm just going to say, you do affordability so well. You're like a model to others, because I think it's probably the most affordable education in the state at the post-secondary level. But here you have dual credit, you know, too. So you're even reaching down to high school students and making it affordable for them. So really great job there.
I'm excited to see it. Once those classes are full, you know me, I need a goal. Once those classes are full, I'll be satisfied. I want those high school dual credit time periods to be full, because I want more students in Huron seeing themselves as college going. And once those classes are full every year, we'll know we hit that mark. Because they're more than capable.
And it becomes a natural pipeline for students.
They'll keep going if
They'll
they
keep
get started.
going. You know, once we can stream them into that, like I said, it becomes a natural pipeline then of students entering into the campus.
Absolutely. Okay, I have one last question for both of you. So Doug, I'm going to start with you. Why is having a campus in Huron important? What impact do you see on the community and on the citizens of Huron?
For the city to contribute what they contribute to the place, it's, you know, it's a financial burden onto everybody, the city budget. But I can walk the street with you and I can show you there's a student that took classes with us. There's a student that started with us came up to Northern's campus and now is back in town. And so to put a price tag on that, I think that would be very difficult to do. Last night we had a class going on, so I went into that class and I said, okay, guys, I have this interview coming up today. Here's a question that I possibly could be asked. How would you answer it? And received a lot of testimonials from the students. I have a family in town, I just can't leave. I bought a house in town. Whatever that testimonial was, and I got thinking about it, and it's not so much about the situation that they're in, it's about the potential of what's the next step for them. If it's changing careers, if it's to enhance a paycheck or whatever it is. And to me, what Northern State in Huron means is a potential for our workforce to continue to grow right in Huron. And like I said earlier, if we can educate them and have them stay in our community, that's a win for everybody.
Yeah.
And so that's what it means to me to have Northern there is true potential.
Great. Erin, why do you think it's important for Northern that we have this really incredible partnership, but that, you make the effort to get to Huron? Because it's work to do it, no question.
It is work to do it, but it's the right thing to do for the students, and that's the right thing to do for the community. And I think everybody at Northern is here because we realize what an honor it is to be able to teach college students and to be at that time in their life when they're full of fear and they're full of hope and there's all of these things going on. They have goals they want to achieve, and they just need someone to believe in them that they can do it. And because they're capable of lots of things. And so I think that to bring that philosophy of higher education that Northern lives to Huron and to help the Huron community realize that we see what it is you see. We see your vision for having higher education in Huron, and we believe in that vision, and we're going to be part of the solution. And then to take that teaching philosophy, that life philosophy of the value of higher ed and the role it can play in people's lives and changing people's lives to our students in Huron. I think it's exactly what Northern needs to be doing. We do it as best as we can within our 50-mile radius. We've got lots of students who drive to campus within 50 miles, but Huron's a 90-mile drive. I can promise you that. We've done it a few
every
times.
time, right?
Every time. And so it's a commitment. It's a commitment to realize that Huron deserves to have what Aberdeen has. Our communities deserve to have higher education. Their students deserve to have that sort of belief that they can do a lot of amazing things, and our faculty share that, wrap around belief in those students in their classes. And we always talk about around here high expectations and high supports. And I think this MOU outlines that even better, and I'm just really excited about it.
Yeah, very good. Well, congratulations to both of you, and best wishes on a really succwhich 3 years ahead. So, thank you, Doug, for being with us today. I much appreciate it. You did drive 90 miles.
I did drive 90 miles, which I would gladly do for something like this.
Yeah, and congrats again on the MOU signing this afternoon. That was very fun to do.
Yes,
so,
it was.
While I have Erin here, I'm going to just take her for maybe another 10, 15 minutes and talk about graduate education at Northern. So this is about our graduate programs. Erin also serves as coordinator of graduate education at Northern, so she's the perfect person to talk to about this topic. So I'm wondering if you would just take a minute and tell us both how many graduate degrees we offer, and then maybe tell us, at least if not all of them, maybe highlight a few of those for us.
Absolutely. So we have 13 master's degree programs at Northern, and they're in 3 of our 4 schools. So we have, in the School of Business, we have 3 master's degree programs: accounting analytics, banking and financial services, and strategic innovation and leadership. And strategic innovation and leadership is our newest one. It does not require any prerequisites in business. So for accounting analytics, you have to have an accounting background. For banking and financial services, you have to have some sort of business background. But for our new strategic innovation and leadership program, you take a business prerequisite course your first semester at the grad level. So it's been fun to watch that program grow already, because we have students who are doing serious lane changes. So they maybe came up and they were a physical education teacher. They came up and they were a history major, an English major, and they decide they want to go into the business field. that's a great foray into business, starting at the master's level. So when we talk about our graduate programs at Northern, most of them are professionally tied. So you're going to earn the degree and then you're going to go out and do the work that you learned within the degree. It's not like your classic master's in political science, then you get a PhD in political science, or a master's in biology and then a PhD in biology. Those are more academically focused. Our degrees are more professionally focused. And those 3 degrees in business are all designed to get into the business profession. Then we have 2 in fine arts, the Master's of Music Education, which is such a great program. It has a week-long residency every summer, and it's so fun to see them on campus practicing conducting and having the halls filled with music again in the middle of July is always a delight. They stay in the residence halls, and they have a lot of fun together. They come from all over the country and a couple from Canada usually every year.
Wow.
And then we have a newer Master's of Art Education. Those 2 programs are designed primarily for teachers who have some experience, but they can also be like a general classroom teacher decides they want to move over and start teaching art, or somebody decides that they want to get a degree in art education because they want to work in a museum. So it's a lot, but all these programs require a bachelor's degree first. So mostly those are teachers, but not all. So those are the business and then the fine arts, and then our largest body of master's degree programs are in the School of Education. Because Northern was a teacher's college originally, and so our first master's degrees were in education. We've had master's degree programs at Northern for 72 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, and the first ones are in the School of Ed. Our biggest one is probably teaching and learning in terms of number of graduates. That's the one that we offer in Huron in a cohort model. We have 30 students in that cohort. Our new one starts in fall 2026. And they're just opening the applications today, I think, with the signing of the MOU. I said to Amanda, you can turn it on. So you can apply now to that program. Teaching and learning is really just to become more of an expert teacher. So it's kind of like curriculum instruction at some other universities. We have an educational studies program that has 2 different tracks in it. One is individualized interdisciplinary, so it's like an interdisciplinary studies master's, so you can take a dabbling of courses from all of our different programs. But there's a specific educational studies secondary education program that I highly recommend for anyone that thinks, I wish I would have gotten a teaching degree. So that is, you can be in any teachable content area with an undergraduate degree, with a bachelor's degree, and then you can come and you can get your initial licensure and your master's at the same time. So instead of going back and getting another bachelor's degree in education, get your master's, you'll get paid at a higher rate, and you'll have the same expertise and the same ability to be a licensed teacher, so 7 through 12.
So if you're working with a retired engineer, and they decide
we actually have an exact case story of that. Who's now a math teacher. And we've had people who majored in business that became business education teachers, because business is a huge CTE in the schools right now. It's a career and technical education course that people want. So
that's a big one.
Awesome. That's the second one, the counseling. We have clinical mental health and school counseling, and that one's KCREP accredited. We can talk more about that. It's a great program. The faculty are phenomenal. And then we have special education, and our special education master's degree has a visual impairment specialization as an option. So Dr. Wold's created 3 different tracks in that program. You can do the visual impairment specialization, or she has in the general special education, you can focus on, like if you've never been a special education classroom teacher, if you were elementary ed undergrad, that's the track that you would want to take. But then there's also an advanced track where if you are a special ed teacher, if your undergraduate degree is in special ed, you can take those courses. And you become an expert special ed teacher in that track. So our faculty are always very entrepreneurial and thinking about how do we best serve our students, and that's a great example of what Dr. Wold has created there. We have instructional design and e-learning, which ties right to our e-learning mission, and Dr. Christian Perlette is the graduate coordinator for that program. That one's starting to grow again, especially after COVID, when people realized how important it was to teach with technology and teach remotely. So that program is growing. And then, what am I missing? I'm missing sports sciences. So we used to only have 1 sports sciences degree. Now we have 2. We have a Master's of Science in Sports Sciences and a Master of Sciences in Sports Leadership and Administration. And both of those have 2 tracks. So the sports sciences is our only program, I think, that is completely face-to-face.
Okay.
Because we have a biomechanics lab, actually two physical performance labs over in the Barnett Center, and the students and the faculty in that program really spend a lot of time in those labs doing research and work, and in the strength and conditioning gym. So they do, in that program, you can either focus on strength and conditioning, or you can focus on biomechanics and exercise physiology. And then our sports administration and leadership, you can either do sports management or more of a coaching track.
That's a lot of options.
It's a lot of options.
It really is.
It really
I'm kind of
is.
amazed by that.
Yeah, it is a lot of options.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump down and just ask about I want to pick your brain on this because you mentioned it, and that's online education. Are most of these degrees online, or are they a combination?
So 12 of the 13 you can get either fully or partially online.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just that one master's of sports sciences that's fully
not-
face-to-face.
okay.
But I think that the story I want to tell, if we have time, is
Sure.
our counseling program.
Okay.
I'm so proud of what our counseling faculty have done. When I started this position 6 years ago, we really struggled with not having a lot of students in that program because it's intensive time-wise. It's 60. A master's in counseling is 60 credits.
Right, that is a
Whereas
lot.
most master's degrees are only 30,
Yeah.
but that's what the accreditation requires is 60 credits. And practicums and all those hours that you need. And the students are here on campus Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 o'clock until I think 9 or 10 p.m. taking their classes, a couple classes a semester. And so what we're finding is the students who maybe they wanted to be a clinical mental health counselor, but they live in Eureka, right? Or they live in Leola or Frederick, or they're a teacher in Aberdeen, or they have a job in Aberdeen, and they can't just leave work. So what our counseling faculty did during COVID, a lot of the universities switched to HighFlex, where we taught in 3 modalities at the same time. Taught face-to-face, online, synchronous. So at the same time we're teaching face-to-face, we have another group of students that are coming in remotely through Zoom usually. And then online asynchronous, we're recording the class and providing specialized assignments for the students who can't access the class. So that's called HighFlex teaching and learning. And it's very difficult to do well. And back at the beginning of COVID, our director of the Center of Excellence in Teaching and Learning at the time saw the value of that in light of Northern's e-learning mission. He saw the value of it in light of the fact that so many of our students are in athletics at the undergraduate level too. And if you're a softball player, you're gone a lot of the spring.
Right.
They need access. It's hard to miss that many days of class. And so that a lot of us bought into this idea of Northern thinking more and becoming better at HighFlex. And the university invested in the technology in our classrooms. We have at least 30 HighFlex classrooms where there's multiple cameras and the microphones are set up and the recording is set up and and then we also have HighFlex certification. So for any faculty at Northern to teach HighFlex, they have to go through a whole certification process. It's a micro-credential now that we offer. And the provost even gives a small stipend to the faculty who complete that HighFlex certification because we value it so much. Well, our counseling faculty realized we need to do this. That wasn't easy. It's one thing to say we need to do this, but it's another thing to actually do it. They had to put together like a 300-page document to their accreditors.
Oh, wow.
Explaining why they were going to do it and how they were going to do it. They had to get approved to deliver that degree digitally, is what they call it within KCREP, their accreditor. And then they had to invest the time and expertise to become really good at teaching HighFlex themselves. They had to set up all their ethics standards for their students and think through all of that in a digital space.
Wow.
Yeah, and they have done it phenomenally. Dr. Matthew is the leader of that program, and she, along with Heather Scott, who's the chair of that program, have invested a lot of themselves over the last 5 years in making that program successful. It's a great story because we went from maybe having 15 or fewer students in that program to having a full 36.
Wow.
So you can have 12 students per faculty member in a KCREP accredited program, and that's where we're at right now.
That's awesome.
And it's because now you've got students who can access this program from Eureka, from Leola, from Aberdeen, and still have their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so
a great story.
that's the one I'm the most proud of.
Yeah, exactly. And been wildly successful,
Yeah.
as you say. All right. I have one more kind of big question for you, and then we'll talk about who to contact if they're interested. But What are the benefits of a graduate degree? I mean, we talk a lot about the benefits of getting a college degree, an undergraduate degree.
Question.
But why would you go on and do a graduate degree?
I think that's a great question. I think it's when I tell the students who finish their master's degrees, you're a master now. People are looking at you as an authority. People are looking at you as having the answers. You're learning to get better at your craft, or you're learning to expand beyond what you were originally trained in into another field. So from the elementary ed classroom into the special ed classroom, or the visual impairment classroom, or the art education classroom. From the, English degree into the business field, or from the finance degree even into accounting. So you can either expand and become better at what you are already good at, or you can build on what you've already known and use those skills that you already have and the knowledge you already have to change your direction a little bit. And then what I think really happens once you earn your master's degree is I think people look at you maybe subconsciously at work or in your community to lead. People are starting to ask you to serve on a school board or serve on a city council. And not because you know more than everyone or you're more intelligent than everyone, but because you've proved to yourself and to everybody else that you can do things that you start. That you can finish an undergraduate degree and finish a master's degree, and that you can figure it out. And so people look at you as a master of learning, as a master of figuring things out, as a solution maker. And so I think people that earn master's degrees end up becoming leaders in the community, probably without them even realizing that it's happening to them, because people start looking to them for that.
Right, great point. It's very good. Good. Okay, let's talk a little bit about if somebody is interested in a graduate degree, how would you suggest they contact the department? Would they contact you as a graduate coordinator? I mean, where would they go? Because sometimes that's not quite as clear as an undergraduate where you go to admissions.
So we've got a great system set up, and we ask everybody to contact Amanda Mulkey. Although if you remember my name, you can contact me, and I will get you in touch with Amanda Mulkey. If you look up graduate studies at Northern, that's also an email address that you can use. So if you can just go to the internet and find that. But it's amanda.mahlke@northern.edu, and she's our grad studies coordinator. So she is our first person that people contact, and she can talk them through all those degrees I just talked through and say, well, what is it you're looking at? What are you interested in? Tell me about your background. Where are you thinking you want to go? And she can answer a lot of those kinds of questions, especially if there's questions about licensure. She knows a lot of those kinds of things in detail and what the policies and the procedures are. And then the great system that we have set up is every single one of our master's degree programs has a graduate faculty coordinator. So we have a full-time faculty member at Northern who's the coordinator for that program. And she puts the student in contact with that professor almost right away. And then that professor can really talk to them about the actual program. What happens in the program, what the value of the program is.
And then you apply from there and get
then you
going.
apply from there.
All right.
We do have free application period coming up here, right? Through the whole Board of Regents system. And Northern is one where once it's free application period, you can apply for graduate programs too for
and
free.
That pretty much runs October and November, so it's kind of in the fall. Yep, exactly. All right, I think that does it for my questions. Anything else you want to say about graduate education before we wrap up?
I just am really proud of all our faculty and the great work they're doing with our students. And it's fun. It's fun every spring and fall to watch those students walk across the stage. And I like to call the ones that got both their undergraduate degree and their master's at Northern double wolves. And so I usually make them laugh when I get to hood them and call them a double wolf. But those are the ones that are great to see around town, to know that they trust us with their education and with their future, and they come back to Northern for their second degree. It's just such a joy to see.
It gives us a shot of endorsement.
It does.
We did something right.
We did something right. They came back for more.
Anything for wrap up, Doug, from you at all? No?
Just to express our appreciation to Northern for all that they do, for Dr. Fouberg's hard work, for the counseling staff, the admissions staff, everybody, because it does take, it takes a village to get everybody through the program.
It does. It truly does. So thank you both so much for being here. Thanks for all you're doing, especially your work together. It's just, it's really exceptional. It makes me very proud to be at Northern. And as I said, I think it's one of our best examples of living our mission. So thanks for all that. And
Thank
good
you.
luck, and thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks.
Thanks.